Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily. That's what we're calling our readings through the poems of Emily Dickinson. We're using the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 198, An Awful Tempest Mashed the Air. It will be significant, the number of words that are used in this poem that never get used again in any one of the 1,775 poems of the Johnson edition. I find that one powerful reason to read this text. Also, of course, notice Tempest is capitalized, which takes us back to 1611, the final play, of course, that Shakespeare ever wrote, where he as Prospero is laying down his pen. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here with the word Tempest. Now, we're as well back to poem 194 there. You'll remember the storm and the calm that follows. Here, we're going to concentrate more on the storm, the horror of the storm, and of course, the passing of the storm. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've been reading with us all the way up to and including poem 197. We just worked with Morning as the Place. Now, this poem was actually titled Tempest in 1891 when it was published. We are, as we said, back to Shakespeare. Any reader of Emily's day, when they saw the word Tempest, especially capitalized, would immediately think of that play. I want you to notice the movement in this poem, from singular to plural, and then back to singular again. An awful tempest mashed the air, the clouds were gaunt and few. A black, as of a spectre's cloak, hid heaven and earth from view. The creatures chuckled on the roofs, and whistled in the air, and shook their fists, and gnashed their teeth, and swung their frenzied hair. The morning lit, the birds arose, the monster's faded eyes turned slowly to his native coast, and peace was paradise. I'm fascinated by the way in which Emily will paint pictures with words. We'll begin, of course, with awful. An awful tempest. This will take us, of course, to poem 9. We saw the word tempest there. When we meet poem 1143, we'll play a similar game. 1134. The wind took up the northern things and piled them in the south, then gave the east unto the west, and opening his mouth, the four divisions of the earth did make as to devour, while everything to corners slunk behind the awful power. Back to this word awful. The wind unto his chambers went, and nature ventured out, her subjects scattered into place, her systems ranged about. Again, the smoke from dwelling rose, the day abroad was heard. How intimate a tempest passed, the transport of the bird. Of course, playing as well around with the whole notion of Noah and the flood motif. Her use of the word mashed, this is the only time that word gets used. These violent words, think about these violent verbs. An awful tempest mashed the air, the clouds were gaunt and few. This is the only time the word gaunt gets used. Of course, here we are describing a storm in these powerful kind of word pictures already. A black as of a specter's cloak, and immediately we can't help but think of our Milton and Paradise Lost. We've given full lectures at LearnStrong.net. The demonic, as Milton will try and describe it. All of that hid heaven and earth from view. And of course, the idea of hiding behind the cloak and all of that scary stuff of the storm. Then we'll get to the creatures. The creatures chuckled on the roofs. Now, of course, these are the demonic presence of the storm. We cannot read a passage like this and not think of Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, as he speaks about, of course, the power of the storm and the weather in part 2 of that poem. We've given full lectures at Learn Strong if you're interested. Then we've got whistled in the air, shook their fists, all these anthropomorphism happening, gnashed their teeth, gnashed, never used again in any of her poems, just this one time, and swung their frenzied hair, again, frenzied only used one time in all of her poetry, and it's here. Again, Shelley's Maenads of the West Wind, Ode to the West Wind, come to mind. The morning lit, and then all of a sudden the storm is past, and now we have the morning. The birds arose, and monsters faded eyes. And the word faded makes us think, of course, of Shelley's Ode to a Nightingale, and that's, as we've said it in our lectures at LearnStrong, that's the F word of that poem. Here, the monster's faded eyes turned slowly to his native coast. The storm is going away, and peace, and then a dash, was paradise. And of course, Shelley's audience, not so much us, unfortunately, but Shelley's audience, when they read the word paradise, immediately, of course, they go to Milton because of Paradise Lost. Now, and if you want to run that to ground, we've given full lectures over all of the books of Paradise Lost. Emily loves this word paradise, and she uses it in 56 total of her poems. It is, I think, for us, interesting to see how she goes from monsters to paradise. What are we going to say about this poem at 2A in Themes Messages? Well, obviously, after the storm comes the peace, comes paradise. Another way to think of it is what we said when we did our study of Dante's Divine Comedy, and especially the study of Inferno. It isn't that you go to hell, but you got to go through hell. And you got to go through hell, not and find your escape, find your way out of it, or you're going to be stuck there forever, right? It's that process. At 2B, well, I love so many of the words of this poem that are used only one time. Mashed and gnashed and gaunt and frenzied. It's kind of fun to recognize that this is a special poem for that reason alone. I love her word choice here. At 3A, poem 318 will come to mind. I'll tell you how the sun rose. That's kind of a fun poem. Let me read that one for you. We're going to see it obviously here pretty quickly as we move through these poems, and see the similarities of this poem to the one that we just read. I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time. The steeples swam in amethyst, the news like squirrels ran, the hills untied their bonnets, the bobolinks begun. Can you see this kind of listing approach? Then I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. But how he said, I know not. There seemed a purple stile. That little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while, till when they reached the other side, a dominie in gray put gently up the evening bars and led the flock away. I love the anthropomorphism that she plays with. Emerson, in his classic essay, The Poet, and it's possible Emily knew this line, said, quote, the clouds have faces if the artist is conscious enough to see them. And I think she's playing, obviously, a game, no question, similar to that. Finally, at 3B, what was a time that you endured a storm? And if you were in the middle of the storm, how well does she capture it all with frenzied, for example? I hope you're enjoying Emily's work. Thank you.